There are so many people that have lost faith in Donald Trump and who love Trumpism. They do love Trump, but they want to move forward and ahead in a new way. Over here you can see the Supreme Court. Just so much razor wire and additional security, and not just one layer of fencing. There's actually multiple layers of fencing which congressmen and staff members are required to go through various checkpoints in order to enter the Capitol and the buildings surrounding the Capitol. It's disturbing, it's bizarre, it does not feel American, and it needs to come down. What is your one of your favorite accomplishments of Joe Biden's career in politics?
I think, helping Obama pass, Obamacare, because I know he was in the room with him.
He's been in office for 47 years. What's your favorite accomplishment of his?
I don't know.
I think they shouldn't wear that hat in San Francisco.
That's not a fashion statement. That's a racist, bigoted butthole statement.
Okay, you rocking the MAGA? All right, super dope.
Really? That's your reaction?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I do kind of love it just because it's so horrible.
Yeah, so what would you think if you saw somebody out and about wearing this hat?
Oh, God, I don't want to talk to that person.
Maggie VandenBerghe is a reporter, host, and filmmaker. You've seen her on countless news stations, the radio show War Room with Steve Bannon, and you can find her on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Fog City Midge. And when I say she's heavily censored, I do not say that with any hyperbole. Midge, Maggie, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on the show.
No problem. Let's jump right into it. I've been tracking the posts you've been making about Joe Biden, his first press conference in, 2 months since he's been president, obviously going at an unheard of pace, so speedy. It was a very sad event, Midge. I don't know about you, but you did pull some great clips from there, and I really want to show a couple of them and get your reaction. The first one was where he only really called on a few reporters. Now there's been some photos coming out where he's got these. He's got pictures of all the reporters, which number, whether that's the order where they're sitting, I don't know. But I want to get your reaction to some of the, I want to say funny, but it's almost sad. So let's play this first clip, Justin.
Okay. How about Yamish? Okay. Hang on. Sorry. Oh. Let me get here. Okay. Cecilia Vega. Okay. Hang on a second here. Kristen, Nancy, CBS. Okay. Where am I here? Let me see. Caitlin, and I think that I got one more question here, and Janet from Univision. But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Folks, I'm going. The President of the United States, everybody. What's your overall takeaway from that riveting press conference, Maggie?
Well, that was the best part there at the end when he walked off. I just got to say. Yeah, that was so painful. The entire press conference was an utter disaster. I mean, honestly, it's bizarre, but I think it's so crazy to me because this whole press conference was set up to kind of put people's minds at ease that Joe Biden, can handle it, that he's not hiding from the media, that he doesn't have some kind of cognitive decline. But this press conference actually did the opposite. It confirmed for so many people that this guy needs help. He's sitting there, he's got notes, he's got a list of reporters with the names circled, the people he's supposed to call on and the people that he's not supposed to call on. And I also saw a report claiming that the White House actually had pre-approved the questions. So they knew who they were going to take questions from, and they knew the questions in advance, and Joe Biden had his answers prepared. So, I mean, if this doesn't confirm that this guy is not up for the task, I don't know what's going to convince you.
I mean, what I took away is that a lot of the reactions from the reporters, if this was Trump, it'd be completely different. I mean, one example is Caitlin Collins from CNN, where she just let him shut her down completely without any pushback, whereas we know for a fact if that was Trump, she'd be like, Mr. President, you're killing people. And then was Jim Acosta even there? I'm not even sure.
No, I don't think he was.
That's...
And it would be interesting if he were. I don't know. I didn't see him there, though. I don't believe he was there.
Now, there was at least one decent question I saw, which is another thing you posted, Kamala says she doesn't know when she's going to the border, but at least Joe Biden was willing to give an answer. He didn't give any specifics either, but he was asked about it, so kudos to that reporter. Let's show that clip just so everybody knows what we're talking about also.
Will you commit to allowing journalists to have access to the facilities that are overcrowded moving forward?
I will commit when my plan very shortly is underway.
Okay, and just to be clear, how soon will that be, Mr. President?
I don't know, to be clear.
To be clear, he doesn't know. So,
At least he's clear.
Yeah.
At least he's clear.
When? Shortly. How soon? I don't know. So what exactly are we hoping is going to happen here? We wouldn't get those border photos if it wasn't for Project Veritas. We could play some of those as B-roll here, Justin, just so we can react to those. There's no AOC going to the border, Midge, to cry while she looks off into the distance. He even blamed Trump the other day for the current border policies. What exactly is going on here? Did you see them blaming all this stuff on Trump?
Yeah, and it's utterly shameful. It's unbelievable because they're sitting here blaming Trump for this situation, whereas Trump was actually the one that cleaned up so much of this. And one of the first things Joe Biden did was reverse a lot of President Trump's executive orders surrounding, how this crisis at the border is meant to be handled. And it's so funny because if the media had images like this, they would be utterly attacking Trump. They try to pretend like it's somehow better. Oh, it's not kids in cages. Look, it's the same thing. Just they've now got
plexiglass now. No.
Now they've got plexiglass, right? No, this is horrific. I think anyone who sees images like this is just appalled, and it's not going to stop. Joe Biden's policies are just encouraging a tremendous number of people to come across our southern border this year. I think they're anticipating 2.5 million people. And so many of these are unaccompanied minors who now are, we don't know whether these kids are being trafficked, where they're headed, where they're coming from. It's really disturbing all around. And it's shameful that the media is not taking this seriously and treating it, with the same, with the same consideration that they treated, the situation under Trump. But I have to say, yeah, I kind of have another point around that, but maybe we'll get to that later.
Well, I wanted to ask you your opinion on what Biden mentioned the other day, I believe, was Trump ending the charity of $700 million, I think it's to El Salvador, and he's saying that the better way to deal with this is by doing everything in their own country, which is true to an extent, but obviously before Trump, the payments that we're making to these Central American companies weren't stopping people from coming over. And obviously Trump got these countries, Honduras, El Salvador, even more than that, obviously Mexico, to stop allowing people to just cross through on their way to America. And now he's saying, let's just go back to the thing that wasn't working. What's your opinion on that? Should there be no funding for these countries? Should there be some, or should there be almost $1 billion like there was before?
Well, it seems like Trump's policy helped, right? Like if we don't pay these countries and ask them to help us out, then, it seemed like it was working, right? What Trump had done before, I believe, is he was withholding money if they refused to take back people that were supposed to be deported back to that country. And now, Joe Biden wants to undo that and think that it's not going to affect things. I don't know. It's just a big hot mess down at our southern border, and it's really frightening to just see what's happening, because we have people coming over not just from South and Central America, but people coming over from Haiti, people coming over from the Middle East. And yeah, we don't know who these people are. And I think it's going to open up a world of problems. So I'm rocking my Finish the Wall hat. It's crazy. I think we could finish the wall in a couple months, but they stopped funding for it. And so this is what they actually want. This is what open borders looks like. So, Americans, they don't want these policies. They voted for President Trump, but, this is what we get under Joe Biden.
I think what we're seeing here, Midge, is that the plan was obviously stop what Trump's doing, stop his policies, let it overflow a little bit, and then we'll show you how much better we are, how much more humane we are and everything. And it just seems like it's not working. Their plan for people to not know the difference or not have paid attention, which to be honest is what it was pretty much before Trump. I would say probably half the amount of people paid attention back then until everything got blown up into everything being political and everything being watched, which of course is good in its own sense in certain ways. But I think their plan of nobody's going to realize what the difference is kind of backfired. And you can kind of see that in their unwillingness to let people actually see the border. Now, in terms of Trump's policy, you had a really good video, I thought, where you were on War Room with Uncle Steve Bannon, as they call them, and you're talking about how people are sort of losing faith in the GOP. They're kind of upset with how Trump's speech went a couple of months ago, or maybe just less than a month ago. So I wanted to play that for everybody because it really reflects on what I think is a global movement here of people sort of realizing that the honesty or the representation that they thought might have been in the party that was representing them before isn't actually there when you take a closer look at it. So I want to play a part of this and get you to expand on it.
And now, audience, please don't light me up. Don't shoot the messenger, because I am just reporting what both I feel, but also what I'm hearing a lot of other people saying. So it's not just me, but there are so many people that have lost faith in Donald Trump and who love Trumpism. They do love Trump, but they want to move forward and ahead in a new way. They're now, they were not happy at CPAC. They did not love President Trump's speech.
What didn't they like about the speech?
Look,
I thought the speech came back and had in a thing that was grievance heavy and policy light. President Trump came in, I thought, and really took a time as a speech with gravitas.
All right, I have a list. I have a list, and this is from a social media post.
I'm not going to mansplain.
All right,
Let you go.
Okay. Complaining about election integrity, but not doing anything for 4 years. Demanding big tech be dealt with. Again, nothing was done. Pushing the COVID vaccine really hard. This is a crowd that is very vaccine skeptical, especially of a vaccine that was rushed. And Trump previously had said, if people want it, they can get it. Now he's telling everyone to go out and take it. Talking about the economy, but not talking about the millions of Americans, middle-class Americans who lost everything last year, who lost their businesses, but yet he's sitting there talking about how great the economy is doing. Yes, because of COVID, but also because President Trump was one of the ones who started the 15 days to stop the spread. So, the speech to many felt tired.
They didn't like the 15 days to stop the spread?
People didn't. They look back now and they realize it was all a scam, and now it's a year since then, and so many states are still shut down.
First of all, shout out to Steve Bannon's hair he's rocking these days. It's looking good. But no, I agree with 99% of that entire video. It's hard for me to pick out something that I don't agree with. People should go watch the full thing on Maggie's Instagram. Now, did you get any blowback? Have you been getting blowback from any, let's say, establishment GOP types, or maybe some people that don't like you saying this because you do have a very large platform?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten a bit of pushback. Certainly, I think there's so many people within the MAGA movement who they see Donald Trump as like, he's our guy. He's the guy that came in and really, changed the Republican Party, and he's really our leader. So there's a lot of people that they don't like any kind of criticism of Trump. And so obviously with that, you're going to get some hate. But what's crazy is that video struck a chord with so many people. That's a 5-minute video that I posted on my Instagram. Normally a 5-minute video is not going to get 100,000 views, but it's at almost 100,000 views now. And people, the comments are out of control, and they're mostly positive. They're mostly in agreement. And I think so many people have this feeling, and they had that kind of gut reaction about the speech. And it just felt tired. It felt, there was a lot to it that, I don't know, just didn't really sit right with people. I think they wanted Trump to come out and say something new, but we're going back to kind of like the same old that we've been doing for the past 4 years. And people are disappointed, and they feel disenfranchised because they are. And they feel like they want strong leadership from their Republican representatives, and they're not getting it. So, it's funny because I actually expected to get a lot more pushback than I did from that video. And it was actually overwhelmingly positive, or at least a lot of people in agreement, or a lot of people that are just saying, hey, this is a conversation we need to have within the conservative movement here in America.
It certainly is. And we're seeing a lot of the same stuff up here, I feel like, Maggie. People are losing faith in the Conservative Party. It seems like they don't do anything. They're silent on big issues. Tech censorship is one of them. Immigration's another one, even though across the board up here, a majority of Canadians want less immigration, but no party is willing to touch that on a large level, any successful party even. Is it the same feeling down there that people thought that it was going to be really a progression of Trumpism in the Republican Party, and they're not exactly seeing that, besides, of course, the same people that we would see earlier, the Gavin Newsoms and people like that? Is it the same feeling down there that you're seeing?
Well, look, I think just part of the problem is that, Trump was different than other Republicans, right? He kind of took common sense stuff that we've been wanting to get done in this country for a long time, and he made that the new platform. Whether it was a left or right issue, he kind of brought it to the forefront. And there were so many people that hated him for it. They hated him because he was anti-establishment and he was actually able to get things done that, if you campaign on something 4 years out, hey, I'm going to fix this problem, then you don't fix the problem, then you have something to still continue to campaign on. But Trump came in and he actually fixed a lot of problems. And, there are these sort of Trump Republicans within the movement that people love. And then there's the regular Republicans, and then there's the rhinos, right? And I think the average Republican is kind of weak, is kind of probably been there a long time, just wants to keep their seat, doesn't want to make waves. They don't want to be known as being, someone that's going to rock the boat or mess up things for their, big donors that want, cheap immigration and cheap labor. And so, yeah, they just continue to carry on with the status quo. And I think that's why so many people within the Republican Party were happy to throw Trump under the bus on the 6th. And I think that felt like a big betrayal to so many voters and so many supporters of President Trump in the conservative movement, because we wanted to see our leadership stand up for us, stand up for what we voted for and our values. And instead, they kicked our leader to the curb. So I think a lot of people feel left behind, and a lot of people feel very angry and betrayed by the GOP because, there's so many tough people out there. There's so many tough Americans who are out there. They fought, they helped campaign for these candidates. And yeah, they want to see their Republican conservative values represented, and they're not being represented and they're not being fought for. And look what happened. We handed over the election. We allowed Joe Biden and the Democrats to, basically take this from us, right? And
hold on,
and
Mitch. He 100 bajillion votes. He's the best, most popular president of all time.
Way more popular than Barack Obama. 80 million votes. I know. And of course, for YouTube out there and everyone, yes, of course.
Yes, he's
Joe
the
Biden
unquestionable ruler of this universe. Now
yes, and he's so beloved, so beloved.
And this is a lot of what you were saying in that the extended version, we'll call it, of that post that people should go watch. And what I got from the speech is sort of the same thing. I tried to watch it. I couldn't get through the whole thing, to be completely honest, because after the first 2 minutes, after the what's the word, the honeymoon feeling left, I was like, this is just sort of like a campaign speech that we've seen 100 times before. You're right, there was not really anything new. He didn't even really drop any surprises. He just said, oh, maybe I'll run again, essentially. So I think that's the reason you're speaking to, is that it didn't seem like anything progressed. It's just like, basically, if he was running right now, it'd be like, vote for me for the same reasons, even though it doesn't seem like nothing's going to change. Now, something I wanted to ask you about that we didn't show, and I asked you if it was okay to talk about this so people don't hate me out there. You mentioned in that video that you lost a marriage over this. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that interesting, but I'll expand a little bit. What I was getting, the point I was getting at in that video isn't to say woe is me or anything, but to say, like, there's a lot of people who came out of the closet politically, so to speak, and who fought for Trump and who put their values on the line and who lost a lot. They lost friends, they lost family, they lost business, myself included. And, I even lost my marriage. And, things, basically what happened in my own personal life is that, I was very politically outspoken. I started to really question the media, question the establishment. And my ex-husband was, he was politically not involved. He wasn't interested. He had actually never voted in his entire life. And, basically, if you have issues with someone and you don't respect their politics, it's going to cause your relationship to fracture. And it doesn't even have to be politics. It can be anything. If you lose respect for the person that you are, committed to, then you're not going to be loyal to them. You're not going to be faithful to them. You're not going to be a good partner to them. And it's really crazy to me that someone who, I have had a lot of respect for, and who is, I thought he was politically open-minded, if not maybe conservative leaning, but he read the New York Times every day, and he was convinced that Trump was a monster because the New York Times is, according to him, the best, most reputable newspaper on the planet. And it's unfortunate because I think that sort of brainwashing happened to a lot of people, where they sort of had their trusted institutions and they carried on trusting for them, not realizing that they had become complete propaganda outlets for the Democratic Party. And so, if you're convinced that Donald Trump is a monster and he's an idiot and he's never going to win and anyone who supports him is a complete idiot, where does that leave you in your personal life? And I think a lot of people can relate if there are, partnerships or friendships that have been sort of fractured and damaged because of political differences, because it really comes down to how could you respect the person you're with if you truly believe that Donald Trump is Hitler? Like, if you truly believed that, then there's no way you can have respect for someone who votes for them. And I think that's that all falls back to just how despicable the media in this country is and what they've done to people and what they've done. They've torn families apart, and it's completely evil. And so when Donald Trump used to say things like, the media is the enemy of the American people, I tend to agree with that. I mean, because we see now the way that they handle Biden, the way that they've covered the election, the way that they cover Democrat scandals like Hunter Biden's laptop versus, things that happen to conservative politicians or scandals that may arise. It's completely different. And, it's sort of like, where does this leave us as a country? We're so divided. So, it's really not a surprise what ended up happening with my marriage and when I know with a lot of friendships and other, families that have been divided over politics, but it's just sad to see.
For sure. And in case you're wondering, I'll be starting my Dr. Phil-like program a week from now.
I think we should. I think we should start it.
Political therapy?
Let's have political therapy. We could have couples to come together. I actually think it would be a great show if somebody did something like that. Of course, you never see anything real on these talk shows, but that would be something amazing. Have a couple come in and sit down and actually hash out their political arguments. Get someone like Jordan Peterson to do it. He could sit in and moderate and actually probably shed a lot of light on these issues for people, because I think so many people are dealing with this.
I call it the TV told me so syndrome, what you seem to experience, and I think you're right, it happens a lot. Now I want to transition to, I mentioned off the top, your censorship, the censorship of you, I should say. You might be the most censored out of anyone I know, anyone I follow, and it's probably because you don't have a huge company like Fox or something like that behind you, or like Steven Crowder with Blaze, where they can just say, expose us and say, hey, a lot of people are going to come after you online, your fans and such, if you don't correct this. Now I want to pull up the screenshot that I made, Justin. Now I highlighted a few of the numbers there. This is from your Instagram Reels, and you have a lot of followers there. You can see the first ones. There's two there that are about 150,000, like 137 and 148. And then the one on the furthest to the left goes down to 700, which to me...
Wait, they got to scroll down. I can't see it.
Oh, you can't see it? Okay.
Your producer got to scroll down. Well, we can articulate what it is.
It's a screenshot. You can't scroll. Geez, Midge, okay?
Oh my gosh, sorry. But yeah, so basically on the screenshot, yeah, there were like reels, and some of them had, tens of thousands of views. Like I think one had a couple 100,000 views. And then one had like 4 views.
One's got 700 compared to the ones that are almost 150,000, which to me tells me that they actually literally hid it from people, not just they shadow banned it. It literally did not display it to people. Because statistically speaking, the people are bound to just, scroll by it. The person I follow clicked on something. That's completely insane. And assuming you made a story about it, I think I talked about this on another podcast, assuming you at least made one story about it or one person shared it, at least a couple thousand people are going to see it, and they completely hid it. Did you ever seek an explanation? Did you even bother?
It's wild, and I kind of have deduced a lot of these things that Instagram does, and they're always changing the rules, the algorithms, sort of the censorship of the day, but you can test it for yourself. It's crazy. Like you can do, you can look up a hashtag like, Black Lives Matter, and you'll see hundreds of thousands of, videos tagged, posts tagged on Instagram. But if you look up something like All Lives Matter, you see how many you see with that. And sometimes they straight up just like silence them, where you type in like, I think if you type in like White Lives Matter, you don't see anything. So it's like, why are certain posts being shadow banned? And they did this throughout the election as well. They would like censor what you could and couldn't search for, especially with coronavirus, like alternative treatments for it, not just like the prescribed Dr. Fauci recommended stuff. So, the censorship is really wild. It's fascinating. And it's crazy to just see how, I remember right now there's been kind of like a lift of the shadow ban, but it's 2 weeks prior to the election. they put a giant, massive shadow ban on basically all conservative political accounts, and they wanted to silence everyone. And then it just was lifted recently. And it was wild because everyone I know, for the most part, saw a large drop in their engagement. And I actually measured mine, and I saw a drop, I think, in 96% of my engagement, which is crazy. So if your account's used to getting about, 1 million views or impressions per week, and all of a sudden you're down to like a few thousand, I mean, it's crazy. So all of a sudden you're just like, what am I supposed to do with this? What am I going to do with this account? Do I even continue posting? And that's basically what I think they wanted to see happen. They want to ensure that conservatives can't make a living off of their content, that they aren't reaching people, that no one's seeing it because they don't want the truth to get out there.
I think it's along the lines of wanting people to think, maybe in the generic public, to think that these views are so fringe that they barely even exist. So when they're criticizing them, they can see like, oh, nobody talks about this. You can see they're really not on these platforms. Luckily, there are a lot more platforms popping up. It's just a term of them getting popular. Over here, Rebel News having been demonetized now, which is a club that I know.
I heard about that.
I know we're both in that club. We're moving towards Rumble, and things seem to be hopefully picking up there, as well as I wish Parler didn't go down for that month or so went down, because I don't think they've gotten the traffic back that they had before that. You're an insider, Midge. Do you know anything about Trump's social media platform?
I don't know anything, but he did say it's supposed to launch within the next few months. And I guarantee as soon as that happens, I just hope they're ready for a lot of traffic, because my guess is that they're going to have millions of people getting off of these other platforms and wanting to go there as soon as it's available, because so many people are like, well, I'm going to keep my Facebook, I'm going to keep my Twitter for now. I haven't been banned yet. It's still a good way of reaching people, but they kind of do so reluctantly. Like I have my other accounts that haven't been suspended yet, and I'm going to carry on posting there just because it is still the best way to reach a wide audience. But there's really not a great alternative that exists at this point. Like I love Gab, I loved Parler, when it had sort of its traction, but it's just really hard to sort of build up and get the same amount of eyeballs that you have on these other platforms. Mm-hmm. And also, I kind of like that I get to reach people on the left, in the middle, on the right, on these other platforms, like on Twitter and on Facebook. So it's kind of like, I don't want to live in an echo chamber, but at the same time, I also want to feel like I can say what I really believe and not have a fear about being demonetized or being silenced or censored.
I'm sure just like me, you remember the feeling of when you were first starting out and having people see your stuff and your audience grow, and you're like, oh, this is so wonderful, people actually see it. And then I don't think people understand how easy it is to see a difference when your content is demonetized or shadow banned, because when you're a person who that's sort of their life, creating content, you notice these little differences when you're checking it all the time. But I just wanted to write down here, make sure to get Midge banned on remaining social media. Okay. Now that I got that.
Good.
That's going to be the end of our YouTube segment on a very high note, of course. So if you guys want to see the rest of the interview, go to rebelnewsplus.com or rebelnews.com/Andrew_says. $8 a month Canadian, Midge, so that's like 3 cents for you. And you can get the rest of the interview and the rest of the shows. And what are we going to be talking about? We're going to talk about the state of Washington, D.C. It's still under some sort of crazy military lockdown. And we're going to ask Midge who she's going to vote for and who she likes in politics right now. So rebelnewsplus.com for just $8 a month, you guys. Thank you for watching Andrew Says. If you want to see the full uncut version, go to rebelnewsplus.com and sign up today so you can see the entire episode where we talk about topics we can't show you on YouTube. They'll ban us.